Welcome back. Welcome to episode 6 of Speaking the Game. I'm your host, All Right, with my co-host, Elite Coach E.
What's up? I just want to say this is our LeBron James Miami Heat
No,
episode.
we're not doing this.
I did it.
Why?
Let's go.
Why?
Let's
Why
get
do you
it.
want to do all this?
I have to. Numbers make me think of players.
I completely understand, but we could have easily said Dr. J. Like the
We
most
could've.
famous most famous number 6, but it's cool. Thank you guys for showing back up. Thank you guys for spending some time with us. If you haven't check out our first 5 episodes. We got a lot of great conversation, a lot of content, a lot of stuff talking about The Last Dance, a lot of stuff talking about Isaiah Thomas, talking about players. We even talked about who we would play, bench, or cut. So you want to go back, check that out. And I think our most previous episode, we even talked about our starting 5 under 25, not including stars. So probably want to check that out, get familiar with a couple of those names, a couple of those guys. If you haven't checked it out before, if you have, welcome. Let's get busy.
Let's get busy. Let's get at it.
Of course, this past weekend, Jordan Doc, not Jordan Doc, but the Bulls Doc, The Last Dance. It's the pre-dance, you know. So we're gonna talk a little bit. Tell me a little bit about what you got out of it.
Okay, first and foremost, Michael Jordan was a jerk. One of the biggest jerks I've ever seen. You're a jerk. Yeah, go ahead, answer song clip. Nah, he was a real big jerk. I would say B.J. Armstrong said it the best. You really have to love basketball when you're playing on Jordan's team. He didn't make it a very fun moment. Just seeing the moments how Tony Kukoc talked about when he was in Chicago, he didn't look happy to talk about any of them stories. The way that even Steve Kerr even talks about his time being, with Michael. It just sounds different, That was my biggest takeaway. But overall, this last Sunday, I love the episodes.
Okay.
This was two great tie-in episodes. Probably 2 of my favorite.
I liked it. I know we talked about this before off camera or even on camera. But the way that they bounced, they went back and forth. I know me and you previously spoke about the lack of depth of Jordan's father, the passing of his father.
They went into it this episode.
Then they went into it this episode. So I think it was perfect because it sets us up for the last 2 episodes, or it sets us up for the last week, which, you're good. So I think it's cool, something to look forward to. Couple of things that stood out for me, and I want to piggyback off what you said as far as what B.J. Armstrong said. Like, you literally had to love the game to be him. So Michael Jordan had a quote that stuck out to me, and he said, winning in leadership comes at a price.
And I think that's where you and me differ from.
Yes.
Because when I heard that quote, I didn't like it.
But when I heard it, I understood. Like, I get it, because for him, in the situation that he was in, and that's why I think he constantly goes back, and I think that's why he was more pissed off or more agitated on the Kerrs on the long leads, because here's the thing. Before they started winning the championships, what's the one thing that Bulls team did when they lost to Detroit for the final time in the playoffs?
What'd they do?
I'm asking you. They said it in the doc.
I come on, man. I wouldn't take notes. Come on,
okay,
Professor.
They all did not take a vacation, and they hit the gym.
Okay, yeah. So they all came in. No one took a vacation. All came in. They kept working. They went right back at it. Like, they never missed. Like, they were still had games to play.
Yes. So fast forward, Jordan comes back mid-season. They go on a slight little run. And then all of a sudden, everything looks good until they go and they meet the Orlando Magic.
That was another thing I didn't realize, because I was very young. During that, I was turning 6. So I was too young to understand what was going on. I didn't realize he came back with like 10, 12 games left in the season.
Yeah. And when you realize,
I didn't realize that.
And the thing is, if you realize how long it seemed, because
like that was a long 12-game stretch.
Yes, but when you understand what their record was, it was like 30 something. 30,
they were a French playoff team,
yeah.
Correct?
So, which is huge because this is the same team that went to the Eastern Conference Finals the year prior. So when you talk leadership, in which we're talking about, so when you talk leadership, under Jordan's leadership, if he didn't lead the way that he did with the new players, they wouldn't have been able to advance per se, because when he fell off, those guys were supposed to step up.
Mm-hmm. He was just out of shape during that. I think another takeaway that we didn't even talk about off camera was I was shocked because, we bring up, basketball player. I bring up all the time on social media with my friends. Basketball players are the best athletes in the world.
Mm-hmm.
You put a basketball player in any sport, give them enough time, they're going to be good at it. Mm-hmm. And to hear, baseball fans will be like, Michael Jordan was terrible, blah, 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 blah. But to hear actual
baseball players,
his coaches, and now baseball managers, a manager in baseball is the head coach, talk like, yo, he was going to be good. Like, you got to think, this guy didn't hit a baseball, throw a baseball, swing a bat for almost 20-something years. And the fact that he was able to go, 13 games with a at bat and get a hit, and to think that, like, yo, this dude was going to be good.
He started out on a hitting streak
of 13 games.
And here's the part that goes missing when people judge him as a baseball player. And the natural progression of a baseball player, you don't start out on that level.
No.
You actually start out on an even lower level till you start performing, and then you make it to that level. So it's like this. Parents that, have kids in AAU, you bring your child up 2 levels, or you bring your child up a level. So instead of them playing in their right grade, they're playing 2 levels or a level above.
They're not going to look good initially.
Not at first.
Give it some time.
All of a sudden, they made this play. They do this. They do this.
So you're talking about him starting at AA instead of starting out with rookie ball, then single A, then big. Yep. They start him at 2A only because of the media.
Yes, because of what he would draw, the fanfare that he would draw. So let's put it in perspective. Even though he started out with a 13-game hitting streak, he still batted. He still had a 200 batting average.
300 is Hall of Fame.
Yes, but understanding he was an outfielder, understanding because that was the easiest position for him to play. Now understand, wasn't he a pitcher prior to?
Listen. The thing that got me was during the baseball season lockout, he got a call to play up in the majors. Like, he couldn't have been that bad.
But it was replacement. It was replacement. So you got to understand, this is how you know it wasn't for show.
No, but how many different players? Like, they have, I have a couple friends who are Major League Baseball players. How many different divisions they have that they can call people up from, even though it is a replacement? He got a call regardless.
But AA is that league right prior to you going major. So when you put it in perspective, so me growing up, I grew up in Rhode Island. So we had, of course, you have the Boston Red Sox, but we had the Pawtucket Red Sox, which was AA team. So, that's where your players that are hurt, they go there to rehab. That's where those next tier guys, those young guys that might be ready, they're in your farm system. So he was in their farm system, and, he's doing that in his prime. But what people don't understand and what's important to see is what the dedication that he turned his body from a basketball body to a baseball body, and that's what he was working out as. So now that you brought up that, let's talk about how if it wasn't for that lockout, he doesn't go back to the gym. He don't call up BJ Armstrong that day that they got practice.
I don't think so. I've been sitting on that for a while, right? I don't think he does. I think he actually sticks it out and tries to become one of the best players in baseball. But now that you talked about him reshaping his body, it made me think of this. Okay, he had a trainer. Not very many basketball players had a personal trainer, whether it be, for physique, conditioning, nutrition. He had that. Mm-hmm. But in this last series, they kept talking about how he never rested. He was always doing this, doing that. Mm-hmm. They try to go over his schedule, especially when he was filming Space Jam.
Yep.
Did he not rest because he was always working out? Did he not rest because he was drinking? Because he was smoking cigars? Because he was playing 2 rounds of golf before playoff games? Like, how much of it was him just being a busybody or him not really?
I think looking at it, because there was that time where he was in the hotel, and he said, everybody says they want to be like Mike, but they don't want to be like me. They don't want to experience. They want the glamour and the glitz, but they don't want everything that entitles being me.
I mean, I believe everything people say. He worked like a dog.
So here's my thing with him. I think he knew how to rest. I just think he didn't do it publicly.
Okay.
I think he knew what worked best for him, but he also imagined and look at what he was fueled by. So his rest is playing a round of golf, playing a couple rounds of golf, because there's no fans. At the time, there's no cell phones. You know, there's no social media. There's no none of that. So I can go, or back then he could go to a golf course, and guess what? For an hour to 2 hours, and if you ever caddied, I caddied before too. So it's just you and your people. So as an introvert or extrovert that you can be at sometimes, just like myself, sometimes that all I need to do is chill with my people, and that just re-energizes me. Or all I need is 5-10 minutes, and then I'm good. And then I got to get back on the grind.
Yeah.
He was focused on championships. He was focused on being the best at everything that he did. So even with that, as you mentioned Space Jam, and that's another thing too. But before we get into Space Jam, I want to talk his leadership still, because I have one more thing. He always led from the front. And I feel like in leadership, that's important. So when he was saying that winning and leadership come with a price, like it comes at a price. His price was he did whatever he had to do to be first. So that way, when he got on you, he's not asking you to do anything that he didn't do.
Yeah.
As a coach, and me and you been in the trenches, both as a coach and as players. And the one thing as a player you don't respect is a coach that tells you to do something that you know that they A, never done, or B, they wouldn't do.
I had a boss tell me once, I had just got done with my my master's.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my mentors said, "Hey man, you're starting to get a little big. You can't be telling them girls and rubbing down that court if you don't look like you about to run yourself." It was a check for me, honestly, because I'm like, I had to look myself in the mirror like, yo, I don't look like I work out. How do these girls respect me from working out? And honestly, You look at some of these coaches, they look like they ain't never touched a ball in a couple years. I ain't respecting what they saying.
Not just such a ball. Some of them look like Ninja Turtles with the shell on backwards. So when you look at it, it's like you got to understand, like, from the perspective.
But that matters, though. That matters.
We've been kids. Like, don't tell me to do this when you don't look like you've done it, or you don't look like you can do it, like you're capable of doing that.
Correct.
So Jordan leading from the front
matters.
Meaning, like, if we run it, Jordan did whatever he had to do to win. Right? If we're doing a running contest. Which brings up another key fact of another player that I want to bring up is John Stockton. I just read where Jerry Salone said in 17 years, he's only lost sprints once or twice or a handful of times. And the only day he lost is he was sick.
So, like...
But he still ran.
So, like, I always played the position of point guard, even though I really wanted to be a shooting guard. But coaches always said leaders lead from the front. Most point guards, they expect, most point guards on any team is a team captain. I mean, you can have another co-captain, but your point guard is going to be your team captain, at least in girls basketball. Men are just a little different. So every coach expected us to lead in the front. For me personally, running was not my strong suit. Not distance running. Sprints, I got you all day. But start throwing it some miles, I couldn't do. For me personally, I could have.
But I think
I did.
I think it's effort, even on that. I think effort shows. Like, if you, all right, think about it. Your senior year, you was a captain, right? But it was effort. You did all the extra effort, little things that, hey.
Look, we had two freaks. I would say we had 3 freaks on the team.
Yeah.
CC, Christina, they never work out during the summer, come in, bust their ass on everything. Then you had, Teresa, then you also had Sarah. Them girls still run 5Ks to this day.
But they were all, and I don't want to say this in a bad way, but they were all dogs.
They were dogs.
They were dogs. And that says a lot because, like, yes,
you're like that for another podcast, man.
Yeah, that's a different conversation. But I think it's important because when you look at that Bulls team and you understand what MJ was the only dog on the team until the whole situation with Kerr. And I think that was important because Scottie, as much as Scottie said it before that we needed MJ to be that guy. We needed that so that way we can win.
Scottie's soft, man.
I mean, he is.
Scottie's soft.
He is.
I think Michael Jordan summed it up. What was it, two Sundays ago, where he said Scottie needed to know you were right there with him in order to fight, where Dennis was already in front. Like Dennis was already in the thick of it. So I think Scottie was just soft. Scottie didn't want to be the bad guy. Scottie wanted everybody to love him. And I think that goes into being like a serious middle child or was he one of the youngest in his family with all the kids?
I'm not 100% sure.
But
I think he was somewhere either in the middle towards the near end.
But I think that goes into that, like where, you know, you're a middle child, you're a young middle child in a big family, you want to just kind of sneak by. I don't want to cause too many waves, you know, that thing.
Yeah, you want to play it safe, but you want to be a little bit risky. So you with the younger kids to be risky, but you with the older kids to be safe. So if anything does happen, you're deemed as the safe pick and not the risk pick. Not understanding that the younger kids usually get away with it. Life of the youngest.
It makes this documentary is making me think that Scottie was at his best as a number 2. He could have been a number 1, but he was a true number 2 player, especially after watching and looking back at those teams where he was number 1.
He had a chance at being number 2. I mean, being number 1. I think he lost all respect with his teammates.
He sat
when he quit on them. And that was in the playoff series. You know, he chose to quit. Like that wasn't a field call. Yo, you mad because you didn't get the call for the shot? Bro, are you trying to win? Like, if you didn't learn anything these past 3 years, just because MJ's not here, that doesn't mean you're still going to get the call.
Correct.
Not when we, on record, ran this play, and we know this play works this person.
Yeah, whatever.
Like, bro, come on. Where's your basketball IQ at that point? So, I think Scottie's going to get a rap for that, just like Jordan got a rap for punching Kerr. And I'm like, yo, Kerr punched him first. He wanted to know if he can go to war with him. He could. I think it strengthened their relationship. Some people think it hurt their relationship.
I've been in practices where, you know, as a coach and as a player, where I fought teammates in high school and in college, and then I've seen it as a coach. Yeah. And girls basketball goes a little different just because things are a little bit more emotional.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I can go back to my freshman year. I got into a fight with Dub. I was a practice player at the time. Like, I was redshirted. I was a practice player. Got into a fight with her. Later on that night, I said, let's have dinner together. Because for me, it was always between the lines. After that, I love you as a person. And we had a great conversation. And that was the first time I went out in college, was with Dub. Because she said, I never have nobody. She was our starting center, D1 transfer. She said, I never have nobody come up to me like that, especially knowing your height. She had a full foot on me.
Yeah, she was. She was huge.
I wasn't backing down. I think I might have swung. I think she might have swung, and I think we both missed.
Luckily for y'all, because y'all probably got suspended real quick.
Luckily for both, because I would have definitely tackled her and tried to go for the knees. But you know what? But we had a great relationship, because she knew if anything went down, oh, she got me.
And to piggyback off that, like, all right, so in high school, my senior year, we went to the championship game. What's important about that is because before the season started, a group of us went to go see Providence College play. Okay. And they were playing Virginia that year.
Big game.
It was a big game. We happened to get the tickets for free. I don't know how we got the tickets, but I know we was there. Not only did we go see them play, and that day we said, hey, the next time we come back here we're playing for the championship. We're playing for the state championship. So like I said, this is our senior year. Every practice that we had, if you left practice without a scratch or bleeding somewhere, you didn't practice hard enough.
That just shows how that level of intensity was for y'all. And then if we, correlate that to the Bulls, the level of intensity they practice with on day in, day out was cool. And I think that kind of leads us to the next thing.
But before you do that, because I want to say that too. So that's what was important. too. And so that's what's important in leadership, because sometimes it's not about the person that has a title. It's about everybody else understanding their role, or understanding, hey, what are we here for? If we're here for a common goal, we got to do whatever it takes. So in practice, like you said, in between the lines, whatever goes. Like, I'm going to piss you off in practice, but just know if anything happens in the game, I'm there. I got your back. But at the same time,
no questions asked.
At the same time, my coach, he ended up getting deployed to the service halfway through the season. The one thing he always told us, he said, I know you guys want to win. I see it in your face. Like, you guys get frustrated because we started out losing. I see it. He said, but y'all need to spend time off the court.
Yeah.
And then when we started doing that, I kid you not, we ran off 6, 7, 8 games in a row, playing some of the teams that like, they weren't thinking about our team.
You know what? You just had a great point. I'm talking about when we go on to this next topic, you just have a great point right there. I don't know. I don't know if we want to jump into it right now to the next topic, but you just made something pop up in my head that's just like, whoa.
Say it. Cause,
okay, so like, you know.
We can still talk the other thing later. So
okay, so our next topic, we're going to talk about the NBA might be on the way back. And what does this long break mean for players? So what you just said was your coach told you y'all need to hang out off the court. We are now almost 2.5, 3 months of most of these players not hanging out and being next to their teammate. That can mess up chemistry.
Yes.
And it will mess up chemistry.
And that's the difference of being a playoff team and not being a playoff team. So I know we talked about this, off camera, but different ideas and the reasons why. All right, so if you're going to bring back the season, how are you going to bring it back? Because now, and we mentioned this, a lot of players that was hurt and wasn't eligible to play, they're going to be playing. I.e., I just read a report by the Nets. If and when the season is ready to go, KD will play.
KD wants to play. I mean, KD has been one of those players posting videos, and that goes to like, okay, let's talk about how the season would look just real quick. Okay. So as of right now, they're talking about having 2 bubble cities, Las Vegas and or Disney. So either 1 or 2 bubble cities. Some, NBA greats are like, no to Vegas just because of what that could bring. The image of the NBA with, legal gambling, prostitution, marijuana, all those things just in one. But you're going to need 2 cities, I believe. Right? The next thing is, how is the season going to look? Is the NBA going to enforce, hey, every team needs to finish up their 259 games in an 88-day schedule? That's with playing back-to-backs or multiple games in a day. That's not realistic. Or is the NBA just going to have, what is the quote everybody says? If the playoffs started today, this is in it, are they going to do that and just have the 16 teams play? I've heard some reports about a play-in tournament for the last 6 seeds, 6 through 8. I like that idea.
I think so. Here's my thing, and I think it needs to be in consideration. And I believe we spoke about this before. So you're basically starting a brand new season.
Exactly. I mean, we're having a 2.5, 3 month break.
Everybody's even kill. You still got to have a mini training camp. There's things that you still got to do, but guess what?
What?
And this is what I suggested. You basically have to do it like the Olympics. Do it like the Olympics. When we talked
about this, I like this idea.
So if you do it like the Olympics, what you do is you give them a round. Everybody has their pool, and it's a round robin. And you can switch up the pools every couple of weeks till everybody plays each other. On top of that, now you have the elimination round. So once you have your elimination round, now you're cutting all the weak teams. They're now cut out with a single elimination game.
Okay.
All right. Or teams that are on a roll. Now they just advance. It's surviving advance like the NCAA. But when you get to those Final 4, Final 8 rounds, now you're talking about a best of 7.
So this is where I saw something like that, where they were talking about like maybe the first round be a best of 3, second round being a best of 5, and then from there on out, it's best of 7. The semis to the
the reason why I say that,
finals, semifinals, and then the finals.
There's a lot of things that you have to look at that's going to be in play. You still have the WNBA. They still use those same arenas. Right? So what I also mentioned was, hey, Just don't do a lottery. Throw everybody's team and throw every team in the hat for the lottery. Throw them. It doesn't matter what your record is. Everybody has the same chance to get that number one.
I wasn't with you when you originally said this to me off camera, but the more I've been thinking about it, I understand, because if you say that everyone isn't equal for the lottery, why do teams want to play?
Yeah. So equal everything out, right, for the lottery. At least determine who has the number one pick. Finish the season out and then get into the draft. Because what that does is now you're talking about all the staff has the opportunity to do whatever they need to do to bring in whoever they need to bring in. Now, here's the tricky part. July 1st, all those contracts that were signed last year, everybody becomes a free agent. Okay, so now you're saying, well, the season's not even done yet, and these guys are worrying about a contract. Oh, but we're not going to start till December. Okay, so here's a question.
That's a lot of time without getting paid.
What are you going to do with the rookies that are drafted? Because normally they go into summer league. Normally,
I think they're talking about pushing it back. I think there's not going to be a summer league this year. There can't be.
There's going to be a fall league, because now I look at the consideration of college campuses, right? I think
if there's no college football, that's going to be amazing for the NBA.
That's where I want you. This is where I'm thinking things will switch up. I think colleges will only allow athletes on campus.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge part. I've heard a couple of my friends talking about, if they're still looking for a job, and a lot of schools right now don't know if they're going to allow students on campus. So how is that going to look?
But if they can control and think about it, if you're not living on campus, that's a big portion of your tuition.
The revenue you're bringing in for the schools.
But it's different. It's separated. Remember, athletics and the school are separated. They're separate entities. So whatever athletics brings in, whatever they raise, it's not on that school's budget. So because it's not on that school's budget, so athletics is paying the school to house these kids, because now they can control that environment with the athletes. Because we're not just talking basketball. We're not just talking football. We're talking all of the sports, all of the coaches. That's all there's not going to be fans. But that's the only way you can control what's going on in your school, which can control your athletes.
But this topic right here is about the break in the NBA.
Yeah. No, but I'm saying how it affects it, because the break is huge, because summer league is huge. Summer league is a huge way to gauge guys coming into the league, where they're at and where they need to be come fall. Right?
So if they cancel the season, which is what they probably should do, is cancel the season, chalk it up as a loss, they can still have the summer league and still dominate the summer of basketball. They can plan out summer league perfectly, right?
Yeah.
But Shaq and Charles Barkley both were like, they need to cancel the season. Yesterday, there was a tweet that went out through Woj and Shams that said, Chris Paul, LeBron James, the superstars of this league were on a call today. We're on a call talking about, do they want to play? There was a text message sent out to every player in the NBA to see if they really wanted to play or not. It was a simple yes or no question. Some of them would probably say yes.
I don't see why they wouldn't.
I would say the players who, are up for this is contract year, or they're fringe NBA players. The ones who are making their money off of other contracts, endorsements, they're probably like, hey, man.
But you got to look at it, because I think we spoke about it. So the things that I'm worried about is I'm more so worried about the bodies. Are they going to be healthy enough? Is there going to be a way to prevent some type of injury?
I think there's going to be hella injuries.
Because of getting your body going from basically 0 to 100.
Yeah, there's going to be hella injuries.
To quote Drake, but when you look at it, it's like, all right, well, I would prefer not to have long-term injuries, because now if a player gets hurt in June, July with, say, an ACL or a broken leg or an Achilles like Durant, now you got to wait a whole nother year for them to come back. Yeah, and that's a completely different
I think there's going to be a bunch and I think that's probably the biggest takeaway that Charles and Shaq both said. There's going to be a bunch of injuries, and this isn't an injury beginning season, just like you said. There are going to be some of the superstars going to come back healthy, like KD, like you just said, Klay Thompson, a couple others. But overall, these players are not in basketball game shape. Another big takeaway I've gotten from this is my last little, my favorite. I love me some Boogie.
But do the Lakers re-sign him now?
He's a free agent. He's technically a free agent.
But remember, he was practicing with the Lakers.
Yeah, but he's still a free agent. So he's up for grabs at this point, if that's the case.
Yes, but now that's a whole nother situation because how is the league going to handle that? How is the league going to handle free agencies?
This is the biggest challenge for the NBA. They need to have these RSNs play games. RSNs is regional sports networks. So once all the teams play 70 games, the NBA on RSN network, on regional sports networks, the NBA then collects 100% of the advertising revenue. This is an 86-game season. So you have 16 times by 30. I mean, you're talking about a lot of games that still need to be played that the NBA can generate revenue from. NBA needs that. Yeah. They need to get to 82 games. Once every team reaches to 70, that's a lot of games.
And I think that's what's important for the players because you got to understand, and it's important for the league.
That's how they get paid.
Because they're losing out on fans. They're losing out on revenue from tickets. They're losing out on revenues from anything that goes on, concessions and all of that. Hey,
China's still not streaming games. They let that be known. CCTV let that be known yesterday as well. We're still not playing NBA games. So now you're losing out on that market as well. I mean, you're talking about money from so many different sides. So the NBA wants to come back. Owners want to come back. If I'm a player who has budgeted my money properly, nah, man, y'all need to figure this out, and then we need to get going.
Yeah, but it affects but these numbers also affect the upcoming CBA. So that's another thing to look into with that. One last thing, because I know we didn't talk about it. Let's talk about it real quick, because I know it was on our list. We talked about it a little bit. The Space Jam practices. Heard there was some pretty good runs.
I heard they were really good runs, but I also read they only filmed 3 minutes of that, which is crazy. So what he's talking about is when Michael Jordan was filming Space Jam, Warner Brothers Studio built him a dome-like structure that had a full court, that had an area for him and his homeboys to play some cards, between takes or at night. And he had a full weight room right there and then. And after filming from 7 to 9 to 7 to 10 at night, there would be these legendary runs where the young rising superstars of the NBA would come out and play with Jordan. And Jordan wanted that. So 1, he can scout who the new fresh blood is. 2, he's running with younger people. And that means they have their legs. They're pushing, they're running, they're jumping. Older Michael, that's perfect.
And that's outside of the guys that were on the film. So you're looking at Sean Bradley, Patrick Ewing, Larry Johnson, Charles Barkley, and Muggsy Bogues. Muggsy Bogues, who didn't get a chance to participate because he was recovering from a knee surgery. But you had Rod Strickland was there. Was Gary Payton there? I think he said Reggie. Gary Payton was there. Tim Hardaway was there. Reggie Miller was there. Reggie never missed one because for Reggie, he said, well, maybe this is a chance I can figure out and find a vice from Jordan or find something. And he said the whole summer he couldn't find anything. But
Juwan Howard.
But that's made me respect Reggie because Reggie was out seeking competition in the summer. I think that's what's the huge difference with a lot of today's players. They're not looking for that competition to get the edge or to find an edge. They're just looking at, we're just going to, let's do it for the optics. Let's do it for the optics. Nah, you trying to win or you not. You trying to win or you not. And then also Dennis Rodman was there. So understanding with Dennis Rodman being there. Nope. But Dennis Rodman being there before he got to the Bulls, I think was really important. Things that nobody's mentioned or really spoken about.
No.
And but he was there before the Bulls traded for him. So who that's why Michael didn't have any problems. Of course, Michael ain't gonna have no problems because he just played with this man all summer. He saw what he was about.
He saw how the guy worked, like Rihanna says. Work.
And he learned, and he saw that he wasn't this big out there guy.
I wish those games were filmed.
I mean, I think for the protection of a lot of people, I'm glad it wasn't. Because the games are to 7, they were super quick. Unlike if we were playing to 7, chances are the game's 5-10 minutes, right? They're playing to 7. It's a bunch of pros. You're looking at maybe a 3 to 5 minute game.
Yeah, maybe.
Depending on defense. Now, I mean, there's times where they were going 1-on-1 at each other.
Depending.
You know, UCLA's just won the championship. They were able to be there. So Juwan Howard was there, like you mentioned. I think it was really dope. And I think at the tail end of it, Magic ended up being there too.
Yeah.
So I think it was a dope experience. I read somewhere where you basically can get a business deal done if you was there, because anybody who was anybody that in Hollywood was showing up there. So, you know, we're good to go. I just want to touch base on that. Is there anything that you would like to talk about?
No, there's nothing else I want to talk about. Just, hit the subscribe button. Share. And thank you so much for, staying with us. We appreciate it.
Yes. Thank you for anybody who has commented, who has shared, who has liked, who has subscribed. Thank you. It's much appreciated. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button.
Hit it right now.
Also hit that bell so that way you get notifications every time one of these episodes upload. Like I said, appreciate you guys being with us. Look forward to the next time. Until that time, y'all be great.
Peace.